Welcome to the Pick Six Preview Show. It is Friday, October 27th. We will be looking at Saturday, October 28th. And my guest, Gino Bacola. Gino, we are just 1 week away from the Breeders' Cup.
I know. I feel like I'm talking down to you, too. I'm up high. You're down low. I don't know if I need to get a little lower just so we can be more even, but we're
a little go up higher.
Yeah, I was going to say we're a little lighter today.
I just went lower.
Yeah, you just went lower. There we go. So we're not technical wizards, no doubt about it. And we're going to be a little lighter today without Skippy. He's actually been swinging a hot stick the last few weeks. He's been leading us in the right direction with a lot of nice price horses. But before we jump into our Pick Six preview, always like to plug those free contests. Pick'em.santanita.com, totally free to enter on the website. Or you can just go through the Santa Anita website and you can find them with all the contests and games and everything there. 12 prop questions every Saturday, every Sunday. The winner gets $1,000. It's free to enter. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can kick back and watch the races. And the prop questions involve college football, basketball starting now. You got NFL on Sundays. It's a fun time. There's World Series coming up. So lots going on in the world of sports, Chappie. But we've got a Pick Six to preview on Saturday.
And the Pick'em contest does run through next Sunday. So it will be finishing up on closing day Sunday, the day after the Breeders' Cup. So yeah, let's get some bankroll money here. We're going to talk about the Pick Six tomorrow at Santa Anita, which is a 9-race card. We start at 1 p.m. So the Pick Six will kick off. Gino in race number 4. We're going 6.5 furlong sprinting. Allowance optional claiming here, Gino. I had a little bit of trouble getting away from the bookends. The 1 and the 6 looks a little chalky to start off. Am I missing something in the 6
I'll give you one more. Yeah, I mean, I thought the 3 fits pretty well in here. Violent Runner. So Violent Runner is going to make the 3rd start of her form cycle. So this should likely be like the best recent start of her form. And let's look at her last 3 races. She was really good in the Desert Stormer, and then that wasn't the strongest graded stakes race in the world, but she still ran pretty well there, stepping up from winning that 40 claimer. And then her last 3 races, let's sort of dive into the horses that she's been facing. In April, she ran into Ida, who is 8 for 11 and is a grade 1 winner and is a multiple graded stakes winner. And that was a race that sent her to the bench from April to August. She shows back up in August. She has a good start. She's 3rd down on the inside. She gets caught in between. She gets shuffled back to 4th, and then she can't come on again. Again, she's behind Ida, graded stakes grade 1 winner, Christian Bosch, multiple graded stakes winner. And then on September the 29th race, the most recent race, this horse got lined up 5 deep across the racetrack and was chasing and was hooked wide all the way around the track. I know we have to be a little forgiving, and a lot of times handicappers don't want to excuse 3 races in a row. People have a hard time doing it 2 times in a row. Oh, no, that's just another excuse. But when you play races and you isolate them individually, this horse has 3 consecutive races where any of those horses she faced would be 1-5 against this kind of a group. Honestly, they would absolutely tower over them. So I think she fits in here. I guess I'd prefer the one of the short prices that you mentioned, even coming off the layoff. I just think she's more talented overall and has a higher upside. The one who I want to like a little more is the 2 just cutting back. I like this cut back here. And if you look at the race at Del Mar last year, going 6.5 furlongs, that was a really good effort. Earning an 81 buyer speed figure. Gosh, in a pick 5 or something like that, I would definitely throw this horse in, where you can spread around a little in like an early pick 5. But I thought the 3 was pretty intriguing to at least mention here.
Yeah, I think like you said, it does go through the 1. The horse has obviously got class, can sit off, can go. I think is very tactical, right? And
think about the time off that she missed, how much she could have grown up and developed. That's from the very beginning of basically the end of her 2-year-old season to right now, all of basically the end of her 3-year-old season. So that's a lot of growth and maturity. She could be just a lot better horse than we saw her last.
And that's the only thing you could say, right? Is maybe with the time off, she needs a race. Maybe that would be the only knock. But I think definitely the race goes through her.
Yep. I'm a little colder on the outside horse. So,
all right. Very interesting. Can't wait to hear what you have to say because I've got some interesting thoughts in this race, race 5. We're going a mile on the turf. there's 4 of them I definitely need to use, and I'm not sure if the 3 Avoir is one of them.
Yeah, yeah, because I agree. I'm a little cold on Avoir stretching out here. I'm. It's not that this horse doesn't have talent and can't win it. I think I just like some of these other horses more in this going a little bit longer, just how they project. The one that I need for sure is the 2, purely on breeding. This horse has debuted against Graded Stakes Company and has been against Graded Stakes Company throughout. This horse has 8 siblings, direct siblings that the dam Miss Holiday Inn dropped that tried the grass. 6 of them were winners. The 7th one didn't win, but was 3rd in a stakes race. So was actually stakes placed and was not a winner. And the 8th one only tried the turf once. There were a couple stakes winners in the mix too. This is just a very turfy pedigree, direct pedigree. So I had to throw the 2 in the mix also. I thought based on races, just watching back the replays and stuff, Blue Oasis was the trip horse for me. That had a pretty brutal trip. Brutal start, was back to last, was 8 lengths off. Then when kind of wanted to move and had to tip out really wide. And then the horses in front of her, when she tipped out wide, they went like wider and were kind of slowing down. She couldn't even really get around them. She had to like sort of stop and like try to get around, and her momentum really slowed. So I thought she ran deceivingly well in there. I wanted to at least mention the Deuce and Blue Oasis, the 7.
Yeah, Blue Oasis. The jockey even lost the stirrup, I think, at the beginning. If you can see him reaching down for about 30 yards and putting his right foot back in, and he lost a lot of ground. That was a trip, an interesting trip. The 8 Circle of Trust is going to take a lot of play. Had a difficult trip as well. Had some traffic. Had hit the gate. The 2 horses for me that are interesting. One is off of the workouts, and that would be the 1 Glow.
Sure.
This horse has come back to work very well against a horse named Dusty Springfield. I was actually running in race 1, I believe. And then the 1 worked very well. I think the running line is so bad that you're going to get a price. The other price, Gino, I don't know how good this horse is, but I have to use her, is the 5 Visually. The 5 had 2 of the most incredibly bad trips you'll ever see. The last trip was too hard to even explain unless you watch the entire race, and came on running. And Kyle Frey has been sneaky good. This horse is going to be 30-1, I think, and is worth a play for me. That's my bomb win place show horse in here.
Visually, who's a big price. So yeah, this was one of the more fun races to handicap, especially because we sort of started it saying we weren't in love with the horse who was going to take a lot of money. So right off the bat, if you can eliminate that horse, it just opens this race up so much. And maybe we're wrong, and maybe the horse airs, but if you can start that way with your approach, that's half the battle in handicapping a lot of the time, right? Hey, toss the horse out, boom, let's get going. Where's our focus going to be? Some prices in here.
Yep, no doubt. All right, well, maybe we'll get a price here in leg 2, and then we move on to the 3rd race. We're going a mile, $16,000 non-winner or 2 lifetime, Gino, not the strongest bunch in the world. I was, these races, they don't run obviously as consistently. They're not big on winning, clearly. They've only won once in their life. I have trouble with these races.
And I kind of wanted to pass over this race initially. I was sort of struggling with it when I was handicapping. Yeah. I'm always trying to look for things that are not obvious, right? What am I missing here? There's got to be some sort of an angle. And I couldn't find it for a while. And then now I think I did. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But I landed on the 4 Star Prospect here at a bit of a price. So, I mean, honestly, what I'm looking for in this race, horses who I know can pass other horses going long. That was kind of how I handicapped this race, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, gosh, we got some speed. We got these horses stretching out that I don't even know if they want to go, how far they want to go. And there's a lot of horses in here that you don't even really know if they want to pass horses. I think Star Prospect kind of checks the boxes of what I'm looking for. So the last race, most recently on September the 24th, slow start. And then after settling and recovering, moved up nicely, was in really tight and got shuffled back. I think that was legitimate trouble. You can kind of put a line right through it. And a couple starts back, 2 starts back. Well, that's on the turf. So let's put a line right through that one. 3 starts back on August the 10th. The top 3 finishers in that race were 3, 2, 1 all the way around the track. It was a total merry-go-round race. So a horse like this, who I'm looking for kind of be sitting off the pace a little bit and closing, they didn't really have a shot in that field. So again, we got to do a little digging. We got to do a little archaeology. But look at the race like on July the 3rd at Los Al going a mile on the dirt. How about the race last year or earlier this year in March at Santa Anita going a mile and an eighth? Right? Like that was a really good effort where this horse wins by 12 lengths and earns a 70 Beyer speed figure. So, you know, you got to do a little digging, but in a race like this where everybody's only won once, like they all have a bunch of knocks on them, I think this horse fits at like 6-1 or above, and we're getting 12, you know, so anything in that range offers value to me. I would go 4, and the 8 was sort of my other one. I just thought Tiz Talk is going to be forwardly placed, was close at this level at Los Al 2 back, and then stepped up and just found that group too tough. But I'm pretty positive that he's going to at least show some speed and be forwardly placed in here and be like amongst the early group. So 4 and 8 was the top tier for me here.
Yeah, I was actually 5 deep in here, but my third choice was the 4 for the reasons you mentioned. And let's face it, Stars prospect, the 4, Frisu jumps aboard, who is riding incredibly well, and B, the horse has been facing a lot better. I mean, you know, you're going against non-winners of 2 Lifetime. This horse has been facing much better horses. So, you know, and sometimes those horses farther back against much better company, they're naturally up closer because they're just running against slower horses.
Well, yeah, he's not a stone cold closer either.
No.
He's just a horse who can pass horses, which is mainly what I'm looking for, right? He's not a speed horse, or he's not a one-dimensional horse, which is in this race, that's kind of like you're sort of knocking a lot of these horses because it's like, I was having a really hard time projecting the trip. So you know what? Yeah. If I circle back and talk myself into a double-digit price horse, and I'm wrong, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Because I'll take swings like this all the time and be happy with it.
I tend to races like this. I had the 9 and the 7 in there, who were the 2 favorites, because of the fact, kind of like what you said, speed can be dangerous with races like these because the horses don't like to pass other horses, right? So if somebody gets out there and goes, you know.
And that would be Canelo to me, who might be just the best horse in this race. Yeah. But what's sort of like my knocks on him were, you know, you've got a horse who has a layoff after a layoff and has 2 races in the last year, right? A dropper now. We don't really know for sure this horse even likes the dirt at all, or if they can pass horses. So I started sort of knocking at a short price, but this is one of those horses who like breaks on top, opens up 2 lengths, and then airs if they do, or they're just nowhere to be found.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's move on to the 7th race. We've got a mile on the turf. Another interesting race here, Gino.
Yep.
I give my top pick was the 7, and but we always leave it to Skip to pronounce these names, and he gets them incredibly wrong. Although he's been winning, so you can call it whatever you want when you're hot. You're Juan there?
Yeah, I think you're Juan here. Yeah,
you're Juan here. You're Juan here. Yeah.
The horse got pushed back to last. It was sneaky, legit trouble, right?
Yeah.
Kind of got shuffled, and ran well. I
think literally hit the rail before the first turn. Yeah, bounced off of it.
In really tight. So legitimate trouble there. No knocks, using for sure. The one that jumped out to me that I think might be a little bit better than the recent running lines would suggest is the 6 With Love. So if you look at her races since coming into the U.S., the first 2 were sprint races. I don't think she really wants to sprint all that much. I think she really wants to go a little longer like this.
Agreed.
Then on July the 29th, that race she finished 7th. She got squeezed back just after the start, and she finished 7th, but she was just over 4 lengths out of it. The horse who finished 3rd was less than a length in front of her. So like the difference between finishing 3rd and 7th was really not that much. The top two separated from there. So all of a sudden, I was looking at that race. I love races like that because, if she ran third or fourth, it just feels and looks a lot better for the gamblers than seventh does, right? When you see the finish.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then in the next race, she comes back and runs a bang-up race again. She was kind of towards the back. She was like 15 lengths out of it at one point. And T in Conversation made a big move, and she just sort of followed. And she wasn't going to win that day, but she was definitely second best in a strong race. And I think she fits pretty well with this group. So, yeah, I'm going to use With Love all over the place, along with the 7 who you mentioned and the 3, Rose Barton. I think the 4 is kind of a wild card. I really feel like the next race is when you want to play this horse, but it's scary to leave these horses out because Leonard Powell has been fantastic with these particular type of import horses. So it's not necessarily a knock on this horse. It's just in this race, I kind of just like a few others better with their prospect of this particular race. But yeah, he's honestly one of my favorite barns to play based on like the horses' chances and their prices and how well you always just feel like you get a good run for your money, and they're not over bet. So this one is kind of the opposite though, right? This one's going to take some money. I think especially with like the Tory showing up and just sort of that form. So I think he may be a little she may be like a little underlaid in here.
Yeah. I have trouble with this horse because I think you got to use this horse. There are no works to watch where we are just strictly going off of a Euro coming in, not facing the best field in the world. Leonard Powell does such a great job. And like you said, the conundrum there is maybe she's just better. Conundrum is we've been on Leonard Powell with these shippers and he doesn't always get bet. This is the opposite time, like you said, especially with the Tory showing up. This horse is going to go off. I would be shocked if it doesn't go off the favorite because of the fact that it's not the toughest field in the world. People now starting to realize how good Leonard Powell is with these shippers and the fact that Dettori jumps aboard. I think there's going to be a lot of public play here, don't you?
Yeah. So that's why just based on prices and stuff and not necessarily like thinking that the next race might be the one, like I could see a good, and I'm kind of hoping for a good effort finishing second or third underneath. Right. And then a horse to play back maybe next time.
Yeah. Back to you real quickly on the 7. You want her. I thought the way she's got a quick turn of foot. I think she needs to sit and just make one burst of a run. And when she got knocked all over the place the last time, she was too far back instead of just, how those horses like to sit and just take off, come out and burst, right? And it was too much of a burst for I think this horse is good. I think it just needs the right trip. So we shall see. All right. We got a maiden optional claimer here, restricted type of race here, going 6.5 furlongs, race 8. What are your thoughts here, Gino? I thought this was another difficult race to decipher. Your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 horses that I think could be good. Pick 5, 6, pick 4 horses, whatever sort of exotics that you're talking. We're talking about the pick 6 here. Sharpazano is a horse who I definitely want to be using. This horse will be trying the dirt for the first time. Sprinted on the turf, going 5 in the debut, was very good behind a horse named Dark Vintage, who came back to finish second next out in a stakes race. I think we'll be running in a Breeders' Cup race next week. And Sharpazano stretched out and went to a mile and was down inside and got shuffled a bit. It was 5th. There was not a ton of room there. And the horse kind of tipped off the rail and then got caught in between. So had a little bit of trouble early and then tipped off and then got caught again in between horses and didn't really have any room until late. And it was sneaky because then by the time they sort of hit the top of the lane, this horse has an opening, but the horse is sort of dulled and already everyone else is separated and doesn't really have a shot. And the race was won by a wire-to-wire winner. So in a race where you've got a lot of this trouble and you're shuffled behind horses, the race is won by a wire-to-wire winner. There's no passing. And I don't know why I just I got this little light bulb. I got the antenna in the back of my neck, the hairs that come up. There's not many of them because I got a fresh cut today. So I got a lot of those
I
cut
can
off.
tell.
But when I see a horse that cuts back from the mile to 6.5, and that particular cutback too, whether it's down the hill or just cutting back that way, I'm always I'm going to take another look at this horse. and then I'll want to dive into it because I just love that fitness that you have. And you know what? We know this horse has more speed than he showed last time out because he was right on the lead sprinting 2 starts back. So I do think he's got a little versatility to him. I like him a bit. And I think the horse right outside of him is kind of a fair horse at a price. I don't think this is like a monster group or anything. And right in front was running against maiden 80 claimers. Like the difference between that race and the races that the others are coming out of, there's not much. Like the difference between those early 2-year-old races that Midnight Love has been in, like those aren't the deepest, strongest races in the world at that point of the year. Favoritism was in a strong race at Churchill, but just didn't show up at all in that race, So I think right in front is off a little slow, kind of grinded up late for second, and 6.5 actually should fit pretty well. So those are 2 horses that are a little price ish that'll be in the mix for me.
Yeah, the only price I would add in that I think might not get some play, just going off the works. Unfortunately, there was only one work on XBTV, but is the 7 Schwarzmeyer. The September 15th work was on XBTV, 48 flat. This horse did it very, very easily. And I don't think there's any world beaters here. I agree with you especially on the 5, and especially for a barn that is red hot that we talked about before the show got started. The Mark Glatt barn, who won the finale here on Friday today, is really hot. But Schwarzmeyer, I think, is the price first timer that you got to take a look at and use as well, Gino.
Yep.
All right, we moved.
I mean, I didn't need LGO. We didn't really mention him a lot, like Eligio. I was okay, and we both seemed like we were okay, kind of going elsewhere.
Eligio had a weird. I mean, look, he ran second all 3 times, and the last time was actually against winners, so it's kind of hard to leave that horse off. When you watch that horse work, it's very high leg action, looks rather turfy.
And and you can tell that the horse has ability, but horses like that are ones that usually end up debuting for maiden claiming ranks, right? Like at the lower levels, because there's some sort of weird action or there's something a little bit different. And so I agree with you. Like, I know it's kind of narrative-y more than it is, but those are the type of horses I don't mind playing when they're more like of an underdog and a price than when they're going to be a short price,
Yep. All right, we move on to the finale, Gino, and it's a good race here. We've got the Lure. So this is the stakes race to end the day. We're a mile on the turf. We got some back class, some old heavy hitters in here. I got my eye on a horse. I want to know what you think. I know Astronomer is kind of the now horse.
Well, okay, Astronomer is running in the Breeders' Cup.
Okay, that's what I want.
So they just announced. I had read in the article because I think they just announced it a couple hours ago. So
okay, I was going to mention I had just ran into George Papapadromo, who has Cabo Spirit in here, and he was mentioning that he thought Astronomer was going to go to the Breeders' Cup and not run, but I didn't know it for sure. Okay.
Yep.
So
and
Astronomer
I'll be hopefully tuned in because starting tomorrow I'll be out there at 5 a.m. and all week long with notes and news, or if there's any scratches or changes or altering of horses for races, we'll know. And then Monday night, the draw in Pasadena, I believe, the draw for the Breeders' Cup. So everything will be out by Monday night and kind of finalized for next week. But as far as the Lure this is I like this style of stakes race because you have these are like graded stakes horses, but this is a stakes race for 3-year-olds up and up, which have not won a stakes since 2023 other than state bred. So these are good horses who either haven't been running a lot lately. That's usually how you fit well in conditions like this. If maybe you've only got a couple races in the year and you've been off for a while, or you just been knocking on the door, against tougher, and you don't want to drop a horse through the roof or anything. You just want to get him a little bit of confidence. The horse that I like in here, I think really fits that bill. That's the one Hit the Road, who was a real quality horse a while back for Dan Blacker, but had just some physical issues. This was a horse who was like the third or fourth choice in the Pegasus World Cup a couple years ago. After running a really good race behind Mo Forza in the City of Hope Mile, where he had like legitimate trouble that day. He earned back-to-back triple-digit buyer speed figures. And then he runs in the Pegasus, and it looked like 2022 was going to be a big year for him. He looked like he was going to be one of the top like turf horses, turning the page, older turf horses. And then he was off almost the whole year. He shows up in 2022, 2023 at the beginning, just doesn't really fire in those races. Now, Chappie, it feels like he's kind of getting back to form. He's run 2 of his 3 races pretty solid. That last effort, he got shuffled back down on the inside. He had to angle out like 4 deep. He at the top of the lane, like late stretch, he looked like he was a winner in there. I think he just, a couple horses in front of him, like Astronomer was getting a little softer trip. Hong Kong Harry is real quality, and Twist is also a really nice horse that we like. So honestly, I don't think it was any shame in finishing 4th there. Like, those are 3 pretty nice horses who were in front of him. There's not going to be any Astronomer in here. I think he saves ground. If he can take like one little more slight step up back towards where his peak game is, I think he fits really well in here. 1 and 8 were the horses I wanted to mention, because I think with the scratch of Astronomer, now you probably want to upgrade Bally's Charm a little bit there, because I think Bally's Charm will definitely be the horse who's the most aggressively handled in this race. You were talking about Cabo Spirit, who I think has some options out there. I think War at Sea is another one who has some options. I don't know if, and same with Visitant. I could see all of them being completely content with sitting behind and letting Bally's Charm go out and try to dictate things. And that horse might be a little bit sneaky. So 1 and 8 as my top tier all over the place in here.
My sneaky horse in here that I actually I might single is the 4 Visitant.
Yeah. The trip.
The trip you throw out the last time. This horse only tried the turf. Well, it's tried it twice, but that race, the Del Mar Mile, ran a good third to Du Jour, who's just become a monster that we love. Exalted ran second in there. The horse ran a really good third off of a long layoff. Now is third off the layoff. JJ Hernandez jumps aboard. I think it's going to get a good stalking trip. I just think this horse is set for a bang-up race and really run some big numbers, obviously on synthetic. But I think that horse proves that this horse can run on turf and can go 2 turns. Very intrigued by Visitant, Gino.
Yeah, I've no knocks, because as I'm saying, there's not that a ton of speed. So I think Visitant can just carve himself out a trip right behind. This horse has been really honest for a while now. Normally you see 7-year-olds like this too, and they've got more like 50 or 60 races. You know, they've been like, they have more races overall. He is so sharp when he shows up. And honestly, he's pretty good on all surfaces. He sort of looks like he's just a synthetic horse, but that's not the case for him at all. He's run bang up races on all 3 surfaces, really. He just has spent the bulk of his career on synthetic. That's really what it is. But yeah, Chappie, I have no knocks on him at all. It's not like big field after big field after big field. But I think compared to some of the last couple of weeks, this was actually sort of a sneaky sequence where I do like a couple of the races, maybe just a little bit more than a few of the ones that we've talked about recently.
I'm going to mention one more horse in here, but I think the scratch of Astronomer might hurt this horse a little bit. One of these days, Irideo is going to come home and win. That horse comes from out of the clouds, but always flies late and gets up for second, third, fourth. And that horse ducks nobody. And I know he's 7, but he runs against the best and runs well, but he just never quite gets there. This is a restricted race. And I thought with Astronomer in there as well, maybe there's not enough speed to set up, because there's only one way this horse comes. Dead last, comes flying late. Maybe too much to do, Gino.
And he fits because he won the last time he won. I had him, and it was probably the last time I won, which was back on July the 24th of 2022 last year, you know, and he won the Wicker, which is a race just like this. Which is one of those races that's for horses that have not won a graded stakes race recently. But I will got to mention, Chappie, because before we get out here, we always gripe about the bad beats and all that stuff. And I don't even think I told you that I recently was closing a pick 4 at Keeneland. I had a pick 4s a couple times with all in the last race. And in the last race, I had, the differences from the horses who ran first, second, and third. The third place finisher was going to pay $191. the second place finisher was going to pay 91, and then the winner paid 1,300. And I
Wow.
had it multiple times. It just so never happens when you've got all in the last race like that, because I had a really small ticket. And so I wasn't even expecting a big payout because it was so chalky the rest of the way through. I thought my like $24 ticket that I played was going to get me back $90 or $100, or so. And they were 1, 2, 3. They were all there. And the horse went wire to wire and just kept going at 44-1 in the last race at Keeneland. So it was pretty cool. And you know what? We always talk about the bad beats. I had one that went my way. So you know what? A little good energy. I still got a few bucks in my account. I was able to make a withdrawal that I didn't expect to make, because it wasn't like I had a bunch of big prices earlier throughout the day where I was like, oh man, I was sitting on a big one. I was sitting on nothing. I got lucky. And we've had a lot of talks about this recently. Me as a horse player, I haven't felt that feeling a lot recently where it's like, oh man, that one I got lucky. I felt a ton of times like, I'm going to give up right now. We've had a lot of these conversations. So you know what? I wanted to at least mention the good ones so we can get the karma, the good energy out there, and maybe have a nice week and a half, couple weeks coming up.
Well done. We'll end it on a positive note, because I know that's well deserved. And sometimes people keep telling you, "Oh, it'll even out. It'll even out," and you think, "Well, when is it supposed to even out?"
That one starts the evening process, though, right? Because, like we said, I didn't really. That was like a lucky one for me. That wasn't even me doing this great handicapping and stuff. That was just getting lucky.
Well, Gino, tomorrow, 8 a.m. Morning Line Sports Show, we'll go over some other races, and you will certainly talk about some other tracks as well. And then, like we said, tomorrow, first post, 1 o'clock at Santa Anita, 9 races, dollar pick 6, and the traditional pick 6 is back. Gino's on a roll. Let's keep it going, buddy. Everybody out there, good luck. Thanks, Gino, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Good luck.